Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is King Ruthless, and I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary. This is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss on the map Belshire Beach, one of my favorites just because it has a nice little beach theme and has scantipedes, which are awesome. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce these two players. This is a replay that was put in the thread written by decaf, our pink Zerg, who's spawning in the bottom right position. And he is talking about how his Roach Ling Muta build is very effective against Protoss, and how it deals with constant harass and denying the third, as well as protecting yourself against some sort of 1 or 2 base all-ins. So I'll be very excited to cast this game. I actually casted this before, but my mic wasn't turned on, so it didn't work out quite well. But let's go ahead and introduce the Protoss player, SFTOIGruntT. We're going to call him Grunt. So Grunt is spawning as the purple Protoss in the top left location. Now, what decaf likes to do on a lot of maps, well, first let me focus on his overlords. They're being sent out to the middle of the map. This overlord is being rallied over here outside of Protoss's base to basically be able to scout on the left, and as well this other overlord is going to be sent to this side of Protoss's base to be able to scout on the right, just basically see about any hidden tech. And as we see here, 12 pool. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, ST has pioneered this 12 pool, and decaf is going to use it for his build. And this is a very important part of the build because this build is designed to keep you safe from any sort of 1 base or 2 base all-ins while denying the third of Protoss. If Protoss can get on 3 bases, they become insanely powerful, but if Zerg can deny that third base indefinitely, Zerg will win, as long as Zerg picks favorable engagements, as well as just harasses non-stop. And really, that's what this build is designed to do. So the probe is going to come out here, throw down a pylon at the expansion. He doesn't see why anything else should be out of the ordinary, but look how early this pool is. Protosses are so used to a 14 or 15 pool, even if the hatch does not go down. We already have 4 Zerglings on the way to take out this pylon. And this probe is going to have to, turn tail and run, because once those Zerglings are out, its life is in mortal danger. So the probe will just run away for the time being, and the drone will start picking away this pylon. And decaf will go ahead and expand. So let me go ahead and tell you the build real quick for what ST does in Zerg versus Protoss. It is 10 Overlord with the extractor trick done. I'm not exactly sure if that was done in this replay. As well, then you put down a 12 pool. You go ahead and throw down your 15 Overlord, and at 15 you get a Queen plus 4 Lings, 19 hatch, and then second Queen. This is a very basic, solid opener against any sort of thing that Protoss could throw your way, whether it's cannon cheese, whether it's some sort of 2-gate, etc. You'll be quite safe. So here we see the Zerglings just picking away at this gateway, and really just, scouting around, seeing where the Chrono Boost is being used, and keeping his Zerglings parked right outside the base is a very smart idea. Meanwhile, decaf has started his expansion, and I think this probe will get into the base, but he won't be able to see much, really. He'll just see a spawning pool, the gas has started, and not much else. I mean, there's not much that Protoss can do here. He's going to try and throw down a pylon, but the probes are there to ward it off. And now this probe's just kind of sitting there, kind of worthless at the time being. So, meanwhile, the second Queen is in production. This Queen is ready to inject larva very soon. I mean, the Queen is only at 29 energy when she gets to inject larva. That is a very solid opening from decaf. Protoss, meanwhile, is going for a 3-gate expand, spending a lot of his Chrono Boost on the Cybernetics core, and will likely either throw down a Forge or throw down a Nexus. Okay, so Pylon, so it looks like after Pylon he will throw down Forge just to be safe. Both of these players, by the way, are high masters. So decaf is a high master Zerg with a great win-loss ratio against Protoss. And Grunt is no cakewalk himself. He's actually, I think, top 10 ranked masters in his division. So a very solid player, 2 very solid players all around. And I want to go ahead and point out that these Lings are being very active. They're running around the map. They're looking for proxy pylons. They are just scouting around as much as they can. Well, they're being kind of inactive right now. But Zerg pretty much has map control. Not map control per se, but map vision. He's able to see anything that might come his way. The Zealot will come to clear out the watchtowers, and look at how smart the scouting Ling is. He's going to come and scout around the space and will find this proxy pylon. I feel like if Grunt, if this pylon was not found in time, Grunt would be able to do some sort of DT harass, what have you, and would be able to shut down the third quite easily. And or if he even did a 6 or 7 gate push, he'd be able to shut down any such push quite easily as well. But Grunt will warp in a Zealot here to pick off the Zergling. And meanwhile, this Zealot is just running around clearing the watchtowers, basically making sure that Zerg does not have any free map vision. So the Nexus is going down. A cannon has started for SFTOIGruntT. And a second gas is going down as well for decaf. And we see the evolution chamber has already started on +1. We have the layer going down at very quickly, and a Roach Warren there just in case. 2 spines are on their way. And really, this is about the time that you want to throw down your spines if Protoss has gone 2 base, because about the 9-minute mark is when Protosses will generally do their all-in. If they do a 7 or 8 gate all-in, it's generally a 7 gate. But if they do that sort of all-in, it's just really hard to hold off if you're not prepared. But as we can see here, decaf is plenty prepared. He already has his Roach Warren, he has 2 Roaches out, he has 2 Spine Crawlers. The Zealot won't be able to do jack squat against Roaches because they're super imba. And this gas has been taken. +1 melee has begun, and I think this is great about the +1 melee. If Protoss does go for some sort of all-in, the melee would finish by the time it starts. So if Zerg is hard pressed for gas and just needs to make lots and lots of units, he'll have that +1 melee and be able to take care of Mass Stalker or even Mass Zealot. It helps against Mass Zealot as well. As we see here from Protoss, he has started on his Twilight Council, so we can expect fast DTs or a fast blink. I would assume a fast blink. It is kind of late for a DT rush. Meanwhile, this pylon has been taken out by these Zerglings. And now, at this point in time, decaf more or less has map control. He's able to run around the map freely. Protoss is stuck in his base. He cannot do anything at this point now except macro up and basically hope an all-in doesn't come. But I think Grunt is pretty safe against any sort of all-in. We see he has 3 cannons here. Zerg will not be able to break this down. Zerg would have to wedge himself in this corner, which with sentry support would not be very favorable to Zerg. But decaf has other plans. He's taking his third now. And as well, he's just keep on making drones. We see the income tab is at 67 harvesters to 44 harvesters. So decaf is way ahead in that account. Meanwhile, we see an Overlord is positioned at the right side of the base. We have this Overseer, which has been active and has more or less scouted the entirety of this base. So decaf has seen everything going on. Grunt will do his own sort of scouting with the Hallucinated Phoenix, but it doesn't really see that much. It only sees what's going on in the main, maybe the natural. But, I mean, nice contamination there from decaf, slowing down that blink so there won't be any sort of blink all-in. As we can see here, I mean, there isn't going to be any sort of blink all-in. We only have, I think, 4 Stalkers out on the map. This is a defensive blink upgrade. And this way, if Mutas come out really fast, decaf can just make a few more Stalkers and hold it off quite easily, especially with cannon support. It'll be quite fine. An Observer is on the way, as well as +1 attack. We'll probably expect +1 armor or +2 attack to follow shortly after. But now, we see here, all the bases are fully saturated. We have a fully saturated base here, fully saturated base here, and fully saturated base here for the most part. Could use a few more of these drones, but, I mean, he's already at 65 harvesters. That's really all you need. But, I mean, going up to 70 or 80 never hurts as well. Meanwhile, these Roaches are being active, looking for any sort of third going down. But Protoss looks like he wants to macro up. He looks like he wants to have enough of an army out before he decides to take his third. So Zerg won't have any sort of Nexus to snipe quite yet. And now Protoss is going to do a light push. I would assume to clear these watchtowers more than anything else. And maybe scout if Zerg has been greedy and double expanded. Or triple expanded or something. But just look at how many Roaches there are. There are 30 Roaches out on the map and 16 Zerglings. So there's no way that this attack could work. Oh, but if he got those Roaches out and force fielded them off, he could have picked off a few Roaches. But Grunt will decide to fall back instead. And I think Grunt at this point in time wants to go ahead and throw down his Nexus. He has seen the defenses here and he knows that he can't really push in. And meanwhile, Micro Hatch has gone down as well. So we're going to be on 5 hatcheries very soon. This is going to allow for tons of production. And speaking of production, 13 Mutalisks are on the way. So basically, if Protoss wants to macro up and just wants to play it, you know, kind of a macro style lane, doesn't want to be super aggressive, it's okay to go for Mutalisks because there won't be that much army there to punish you if you spend all that gas on Mutalisks and not on Roaches. Meanwhile, we see this army just is out everywhere, all over the map. These Mutalisks are going into the main. They will likely start to pick away at these probes. Meanwhile, the rest of the army is going to deny this third, and there's just not a lot of army here. Protoss has to split his forces, but really the point of this attack is to deny this third. And meanwhile, these Mutalisks are just wreaking havoc on the probe line of Grunt, and so many workers are getting sniped here. We are at 11 workers killed, 13 workers killed. And the Blinkstalkers will appear just in time to shoo away these Mutalisks, but he's lost 12 workers already. This third has been denied. So the damage has already been dealt. Grunt is throwing down 2 cannons to make sure that he can expand, but really his income is just hurting so much, overproducing these probes a bit, and he just can't take his... Oh, he's not overproducing so much. Just look at the income tab, 51 to 68. I mean, Protoss just can't really do much at this point. You can't leave his base, so his bases are going to be oversaturated. You want more probes than you can afford on 2 bases if you're going to grab a third base. But he can't because this third has been denied for so long. Again, we see Zerglings streaming in. Meanwhile, Mutalisks are attacking on this angle. And again, Protoss's army has to split up. Protoss cannot engage here with this entire army because of these Mutalisks, which are doing a great job at harassing. So now, let's pay attention to this. Decaf is on 4 bases. Decaf can just non-stop harass at this point. We have 67 harvesters. That is plenty to keep an endless supply of armor units, of Mutalisks, of Zerglings, of Roaches. And it works quite well because the Zerglings and Roaches can go for those nice counterattacks on the third, whereas the Mutalisks can go and snipe away at workers on the main and natural. So again, we're seeing Protoss is stuck in his base. He cannot leave. He only has 1 Colossus out. He's working on a 2nd Colossus. And even if Protoss wants to push here, there's not much he's going to be able to do. I mean, the Zerg army can just go and attack at any point in time. And see what these Mutalisks are doing. They're forcing the Stalkers to retreat. Because it would really help here if a Grunt put up maybe 1 or 2 cannons out here to help with that Mutalisks harass. But again, as we see here, Zerg gets everywhere at once. And Protoss just does not have enough mineral income to really deal with this. Again, Protoss's army is split, and so what is here to deal with these mutants except for sentries and 1 stalker? Finally, the rest of the stalkers come in to join up with the army, but so much damage has been done, and once this army is joined up by these Roaches, Grunt is going to have to pull back, but he's not going to. There are no sentries to put in force fields because of the constant harass. Roaches and Mutalisks and Zerglings coming in, dealing so much damage to this army. Even with these reinforcing units, there's no proxy pylons out on the map because he's been so active. The Colossus will go down. The rest of Grunt's forces will be forced to retreat, losing 2 stalkers there. And again, once Decaf can supply more Mutalisks to this flock, he can go and harass again. And it's really about denying that third and macroing up on 4 bases and just keeping Protoss confined to 2 bases. 2 base Protoss is manageable. 3 base Protoss gets scary. And I think as Zerg players, we can all agree on that. Now this robotics facility is going to go down. That's really big. That's going to stop Colossus production. That's going to stop Immortal production. And that's what you need against this sort of build. You need maybe a 1 or 2 Immortals. You need a couple of Colossi. You need your Sentries. And you need your Stalkers, your Blink Stalkers. But it's just not going to work here. Again, Grunt is stuck on 2 bases. He just does not have enough income to support that sort of production. And Zerg, once again, Decaf is all over the map at the same time. This army is joining up a little bit here in the center, and they're going to go again and deny the third. And even if he has to engage here, he has tons of forces. All he has to do, he doesn't even have to engage. He has to deny this Nexus, and that's exactly what he does. And Decaf will finally retreat. But let's look at the supply differences. 108 to 200. This is a max Zerg army. The upgrades speak for themselves. There's 1 attack on these Roaches. I think armor should be coming shortly. Well, 1 attack on the melee units, 1 attack on the Roaches. And these Mutalisks are at +1, about to be at +2 damage shortly. Infestation Pit going down, you can expect for there to be a hive after this, because this is very much a gas-intensive build, and to make infestors here would really cut into that Mutalisk production. So again, this third base is trying to go down, but instead of trying to deny that third, decaf is going to make a wise choice here and just force the Protoss to engage him in an unfavorable position. This is what really kills Protoss. This is a very important battle here because Protoss is stuck trying to defend his base against all these roaches, which are picking off tons and tons of probes. Meanwhile, the Mutalisks are going to be able to take out this robotics bay. No more Colossi, and now the Mutalisks are just going to come into this main base and start picking off even more probes. Stargate has gone down, but he's not going to be able to keep up with the production of Zerg. Not only on 2 bases, let's look at the workers lost tab. 49 workers lost for Protoss, 0 workers killed for Zerg. So great job here by decaf, keeping the Protoss contained and not allowing Protoss to macro up. And again, he's never quite still with his units. He's always everywhere at once. So these Mutalisks are going to come in, do some more harassment, make the army stay back in the base. Meanwhile, these Zerglings are going to come and deny the third yet again. This base will not go down. And there's not much that Protoss can do at this point. I think at this point in time, after that last engagement in Protoss's natural, he lost the game. I guess that Protoss technically lost the game once his third got denied the first or second time. Without that sort of income, Protoss cannot afford the production that he would like. So Grunt admits that he's pretty much killed here, and I have to say, I mean, it's very true. He's going to run out of minerals very shortly. There's not much remaining on these packages. He has very few workers left. The income tab is 65 to 30. So a quick attack will come in here, but decaf will be wise and will fall back. He does not want to lose all of his Mutalisks. He does not want to lose all of his army to a very unfavorable engagement. And decaf is just playing very smart Zerg versus Protoss. He's finding the best places that he can to engage. He's engaging at all the right times, and Protoss can't force an unfavorable position because he just has so much map control. Protoss cannot leave his base without Zerg knowing about it, without Zerg punishing it. So again, this no third base, Protoss cannot expand. Protoss is going to have to go for some sort of all-in at this point. That's all he can do. But +2 melee attacks, +1 carapace, pathogen glands, +1 flyer carapace, and 8 corruptors and a hive are on the way. There's just nothing here that Grunt can do at this point. He is so dead. But Grunt, being the true player that he is going to play this one out and see exactly what he can do. So we see here again, there's no minerals left. There's no minerals left. And that's, I mean, he can't go for High Templar. He just can't afford that sort of production. And he, again, it goes back to production, gas income, mineral income. He just doesn't have enough minerals. He doesn't have enough gas. He doesn't have enough anything. So Protoss has been long since dead. Zerg is on 4 bases at this point. I mean, his minerals are so high, he should grab a 5th, if not a 5th and a 6th. These Mutalisks are just doing so much damage. So really, Grunt has no option here, no choice really, but to go and try and push and kill his opponent. But just losing so much infrastructure, it's not like he'd afford it anyways. There's just no production going on here, and engagement finally does occur at this choke point. But I mean, you have 1-1 roaches, you have 1-2 corruptors, and the Mutalisks are coming to flank, and look how big that Mutaflock is. It is at 20 Mutalisks, 11 corruptors, 16 roaches, and that will be the good game, ladies and gentlemen. So that is it. That is a very safe build. That is a very cost-efficient build. That is a very strong build that is aimed towards keeping you safe against any sort of 1 or 2 base all-ins, as well as denying the third of Protoss. Now on this map, Belcher Beach, it is a little bit easier to deny the third of Protoss, but I'll be doing some more replays here soon to show how decaf works around other sorts of maps and other sorts of play styles. But that'll do it for this cast, guys, so I hope you enjoyed it. I've been your host as always, Kangaroothless. Be sure to rate, subscribe, comment below, and favorite, all that fun stuff. And be sure to check out the thread that decaf wrote. It is a very well written thread, and I'm really liking this build. I've tried it out a few times myself, and it works wonders. So definitely check it out, and that'll do it for now. I will see you guys next time. Peace.